as Abe says, I'm based in South London. A lot of my work is cited in public spaces, and for the last 10 years or so, I guess that's really been a focus of mine. So I'm engaging in a lot of sites that you might normally find used for commercial advertising. A lot of my projects are kind of born out of interactions with groups of people, and I'm interested in, I suppose, giving voices to people whose voices wouldn't necessarily be heard in the public spaces. So, for example, this is a project made with an advocacy group for refugees and asylum seekers. This is a project I just finished, or partly finished, just before lockdown in Colchester, which was a project using disused shop spaces, and local residents were asked to present questions or about the town in these spaces. I think part of my interest in this way of working is through kind of growing up in this kind of golden age of advertising and coming across billboards like this Saatchi and Saatchi billboard from 1978, and thinking about the kind of influence and power of these pieces of advertising came. And also, this is another ad campaign from sort of 1983 onwards for Silk Cut cigarettes, like how the adverts could be these kind of almost kind of spectral or surreal kind of dissonant presence in our streets and around our homes. I've been thinking, I guess we're in a very strange kind of relationship to the public realm at the moment, and I guess I've been trying to talk to my students about art, how this is represented in art. So thinking about some of the artists that have really influenced me. This is Jenny Holzer with this incredible series of truisms from 1978 and 1979. A very different kind of tone in the work of Felix Gonzalez Torres with these series of untitled billboards which take these sort of very personal, touching, intimate, poetic moments and put them out on the street, and in a very beautiful way. This is a piece by Daniel Boren from this ongoing series of works with these 8.7 centimeter wide vertical stripes on them. The idea that somehow an artwork in its kind of dissonant relationship with the world can reveal the world a bit more clearly. One thing that happened during the recent weeks was the death of Christo, who was kind of, I guess, not an artist that I'd thought about very much, but when he died, I started thinking about how I'd seen some of these images as a kid and was really amazed by the sort of idea that an individual person could make something of such a kind of huge scale, and the sort of almost sort of superhuman power of that. And that leads me into this, which is literally, something that appeared in the world a week ago, this incredible piece of text art in Washington after the as part of the George Floyd protests, and obviously we're rethinking public space in a very radical way now. Last weekend, this was the statue of Edward Colston, which was thrown into the harbour in Bristol, and we've seen already that this direct action is having consequences. The other thing at the moment is the need to not say anything for a while, the need to think and reflect, and I feel very much that I will need to reevaluate the way that I think about what I do and the way the kind of representations that I am putting into the public realm. So I think it's important that for a moment there's a pause. This is what I guess the project that Abe mentioned. So its first iteration was in Canada, in Toronto in 2012. It was the title of an exhibition I had at the Art Gallery of Ontario. And I guess this phrase, "Please believe these paths," has sort of stuck with me. It was reimagined as a fly posting project around the time of the Brexit referendum. And at the beginning of lockdown, I noticed that people had started to post images of these works on social media. So I had a sense that it was resonating in a different way for the third time. This is the project that I made, I guess, that actually only came to an end last week. So it started sort of synchronous with lockdown. And this was a collaboration with Jack Arts, which is a kind of agency here in the UK, who gave me access to 10 sites, 10 sites, billboard sites and poster sites and digital screen sites in 10 cities around the UK. And you have to remember, at this time we were all in the early days of lockdown, so I experienced most of this in an entirely vicarious way through social media, and then through the newspapers, who found that basically for every day for weeks it was being tagged on to stories about coronavirus. And if you could find a picture of someone walking past it in a face mask, it made great kind of editorial. And it was really interesting as a project to see it kind of to not experience it directly, but to experience it through the images that other people took, and also the positive kind of messages that I received from people around the UK as they came across the posters, initially not necessarily being able to know what they were. The other thing that I've really enjoyed is how people have dealt with kind of not being able to make gallery exhibitions, and creative ways of working with that. So this is an Instagram project called Slow Install, in which a series of artworks are gradually added or removed from a gallery. And this is a project by an artist called Bruce Asbestos, who's been mounting these kind of huge fictional exhibitions in fictional museums and galleries around the world, which are all based on kind of I guess the ridiculous, and I like it. So yeah, thank you very much.